Good evening, everyone. Welcome along to TGP1 Season 30, rounds 15 and 16, and we are here at the beautiful Singapore circuit. We are here for the title-deciding weeks, and we look now at Cliffy, who is looking to charge down on Softy's championship advantage he has currently over Aiden and him. So it's between these three for the title as things stand, and currently Softy is the quickest man with a 1:34.4. He's 3/10 faster than Matt, with Aiden back this week and currently in third position. Owen, Jack, Dan, Cliffy, Phil, Josh and Smudge round out the current top 10. Smudge and John, new drivers this week. They are racing at the Mercedes team, so welcome to them. I'm joined again by fellow TGB2 driver Barry. Hello Barry, how are you feeling today?
Hello, good evening. I'm very well, thank you. Very well. How are you?
I'm very good. Who's your money on for Singapore?
I'm gonna have to go with Soft again. You know, championship leader, currently fastest man out there, with a 1:34.4, and yeah, with Aiden back, it should be an interesting race tonight. Hopefully, he can improve and get this title back on track. Currently 74 points behind. Also keep an eye out for James in the Ferrari, because he's had a good few results the last few races. He's only 82 points off the leader Softy as well, so possibly a three-way battle for the title.
Cliffy's binned it. Cliffy was about to improve, but he's going to start no higher than 8th. He's crashed it in the wall and that car's going nowhere. And Softy's also out of the session, so he's not going to improve. So it's going to be looked like it's going to be down to Matt. Is Matt about to finish his lap now or start one? He's about to start one, I think. Or Matt hasn't improved anyway, so it looks like Softy may have just secured pole position with that mistake from Cliffy.
Yep, Matt's just starting his lap now.
Interesting then to see how Matt gets on. Matt normally does pretty well in qualifying. He's struggled in the races so far, but he taps the wall, and that is not going to help his attempts to take pole position. Smudge will start no higher than 11th. He's another casualty from this race. Phil also calling it a day. He's down in 5th. Probably the driver's just choosing to retire, as the session is now, of course, at its climax. Softy, for now, holds the advantage over Matt, but it's a very scruffy lap. He's all over the place, Barry.
He is. Owen, what's that? Yep.
It looks like Aiden, and he hits the wall again. This is not the lap, and that's really struggling there.
That's it.
I don't think this is going to be trouble in Softy for sure. Owen will be one to watch as well. He's currently in 4th place, of course, on a streak of 3 podiums at the moment. Owen actually has the record now, the unwanted record of having the most podiums without a race victory. He has 19 podiums, 9 seconds and 10 thirds. He'll be hoping that one day, maybe today, he can end that duck and take the race victory.
Paul, by the looks of it, has binned it in the wall as well. Not sure where that is.
So it's only...
Dan was on a lap, it looks like Dan's gone as well.
It's only Matt and Owen left to set lap times. It's between these two. I'm not sure Softy will be troubled, because Matt's really struggling, and you can see he's backed off there. That's the end of his qualifying. He will start no higher than 2nd position. So it is down to Owen, and in fact Owen chooses to pit. So qualifying ends, and Owen chooses not to pit, and he's retired from the session. So Softy will be your pole sitter here at Singapore. Fantastic lap from him.
Sorry Dom, I will just point out quickly, I did notice Cliffy, who ended up in P9, did do his best lap on the Ultra Soft. Everyone else is on the Hyper Soft.
I'll be one to follow then in the race, the alternative strategy. And you can see Aiden in 3rd position has a 5-place grid penalty. And is that rain I'm seeing at Singapore at the top of the screen? Maybe that's why the drivers weren't improving. I didn't seem to see any rain on my screen.
Yes, yeah.
But it looks like it was raining. So maybe that's why at the end the drivers are all struggling. But we didn't seem to see that, unfortunately. But it doesn't matter anyway. For Softy, he's on pole, and you'll have Matt alongside him in 2nd position. Aiden's going to be starting down at 8th, Barry. Can he win from there, do you think?
I'd like to say anything's possible at Singapore. It's a street circuit, isn't it? So it's one of those where people can easily hit barriers, get damage. Possible safety car, and it can throw up. Well, the end of that qualifying, it started raining. We don't seem to have any rain for the race. but
It looks dry, doesn't
weather
it?
could play a part also.
Well, Softy has taken his 7th pole position of the season. And Martin Diver already having to leave this race, so Martin will not score any points here at Singapore. But Singapore is one of 2 venues that Softy has not won from the current calendar. Australia and Singapore are the 2 tracks. Can he finally take victory here at Singapore? Singapore also the circuit that Aiden has his sole TGP1 race victory. Ironically, it was Softy that crashed in the closing laps, which gave Aiden his first taste of success here at Singapore. But here we go, the Singapore Grand Prix. 4 lights, 5 lights. Looks like there's a Williams and Fry starting on the same row, a little further behind, and they get off on the same row. I've not seen that before.
And we're away.
It's Softy though, for now, who holds the lead, but is Matt going to send one up inside of turn 1? He thinks better of it. Softy for now holds the position. He keeps P1 ahead of Matt. Owen's in 3rd, Phil in 4th already. A good start from him. Aiden is currently in 8th position, so he's not gained too much ground in the first few corners. But it is Matt who's actually taken the lead now ahead of Softy. Softy's dropped down to 3rd. What's happened to Softy? Looks like he had a bad getaway. I didn't see what happened there, but he's down to P3.
Mercedes in the wall. Smudge.
Can Softy get back into P2 in this corner? He's going to try. He tries to cut the corner a little bit to avoid an incident, but Softy, for now, is stuck behind Owen, and this is going to help Matt potentially take his first race win of the season. He can now pull away if Owen continues to hold up Softy, but Owen himself in good form, going for a 4th podium in a row. Barry, wow, what a start. Softy down to P3. Drama.
Yes, disappointing start for Softy. Won't be happy with that. Great start for Matt. I saw coming out of turn 3 or 4, I believe it was, Smudge in the Mercedes got tank slapper and hit the barrier, so he's also got damage, and he's got his teammate John right behind him. But yeah, good start, clean.
And Mike Noon has binned it.
Mike's gone.
Just as you say that, Mike Noon sticks it in the walls. He's not had a lot of luck this season, and that seems to be continuing.
Sorry, John has outbraked himself, and he's also off. He's back on track now.
I was suggesting that Matt would pull away from these front 2, but it looks like Owen's actually closed the gap back. It's down to less than a second again. So Softy's still round the back of Owen, but Owen's still sticking with Matt, Barry.
He's got to watch out for Smudge behind, Softy behind him.
In fact, he does. There's a lot of close battles on this field. You can see the top 7 appear to have broken away from the rest. James or Cliffy and Josh already choosing to pit on the opening lap. So you'd suggest it's from damage, or they're going for a different strategy. There's no sign of a safety car or VSC from Mike's collision with the wall. But a few alternate strategies then, as Softy now looks to try and get a move on Owen, who himself is only 4/10 back from Matt. He's really flying. Owen, as I said, never won in TGP1. He has 19 podiums, but never tasted the top spot. Is this finally going to be his chance? It'll be a beautiful place to do it at Singapore.
It will. It will.
Softy, I'm sure, will have a lot to say about that, though.
Look at the 4 guys that pitted have all gone on to the soft tyre, the hardest compound, so they'll probably be going to the end. The Hypersoft, I say lap 3, lap 4 possibly. It won't last very long, the Hypersoft. So Goins is on the Ultra Soft and he's up into P9, so he might be going a bit longer.
Looks for a move on Owen. The door just about closed, and for now Softy remains in P3. Aiden in the background has moved up to P7, so he's gone up a place from his 8th place on the grid, but it does look like he has damage from that tapping the wall behind Jack, so that will not help him, and already he's dropped a second back from Jack, so that could be an incident that forces him to pit, and Bart Dude is out of the race. He's out. Bart Dude has retired from the session. We should see maybe from the cars behind where it's happened, but that is not what he needed, and Softy has a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting, which is a huge boost to Matt and Owen's chances for this race victory. Can Softy look for movement to turn 1? I don't think there's going to be enough room there. Will we see a safety car for the incident with Aiden? Aiden, a huge blow to his title hopes. Although Softy's not looking for a good result at the moment, with a P3 and a penalty, he is going to extend his championship lead with Cliffy and Aiden both down at the back. So huge drama for Softy's title rivals. Softy in P3 is actually in a pretty good position at the moment. And Owen looking to make a move on Matt here up the inside. Can he get it stuck? This would be a fantastic move from the Force India driver. He gets right on the brakes and he just about keeps the position ahead of Matt. This is beautiful. And Softy sits back in 3rd, and Phil is joining the fight too. It's a fight between the front 4, Owen, Matt, Softy and Phil. Owen looking for his first race win. Matt looking for his first of the season. And Softy looking to get back at the position he's so used to now. But look at this, a fantastic scrap between the top 4. You can see Softy looking to get past Matt now. Does Matt have any damage on that? Hasn't. Matt has binned
Matt's
it.
Gone.
Matt's gone. So he has binned it.
Oh.
That is his race over, and 4 now becomes 3. It looks like Jack is also well done to him. P4, fantastic start. He's kept out of trouble. And Jack Pearson into P4, but Matt throwing it all away. And that's probably bad news for Owen, because now Owen knows that Softy behind is going to get applying a lot of pressure. Wow, Barry. What happened to Matt there? Did you see it? It looked like he just hit the inside of the wall and smashed out of it.
I think he just hit the inside of the wall. It was a bizarre moment, that was. I was quickly just on board with Aiden. He was exiting turn 15 and the back end just went straight into the wall, and now his teammate Paul's gone as well.
Both Sauber drivers have crashed out of this race. Sauber, of course, fighting Renault for constructors, and currently Renault is 2nd and 3rd, with Phil Pitton looking to maybe do the undercut on Owen and Softy. Jackson's promoted into the podium places. It would be his first podium of the season, but suddenly it's all going wrong for Sauber these last few weeks. And look at this, Softy applying the pressure to Owen still. The gap is just around half a second. Can Softy get clear? And of course he's got to pull 3 seconds clear too. I believe he has got a time penalty. Smudge and John back into P10 and 11 now. Those two a disastrous start, the Mercedes drivers coming into pit early on. I'm suspecting for some front wing damage on their cars too. And Owen, look at that, loses the back end, but currently holds on. Fantastic pace from Owen, looking for his first race win in TGP1.
Yep, he just needs to hold them off. They might come in to the pits at the same time, or Smudge might go a bit longer, try and get the undercut, or overcut should I say. You got the 2 Ferraris in 4th and 5th, not too far apart from each other. Dan looks to be reeling in Jack ever so slowly as well. But,
well,
rest of the field's slightly spaced out now.
It was also close. We had a 4-way fight for the lead, and suddenly the field's starting to spread out. Pit stops, of course, coming into play. Phil, watch out for him. Let's see if he can set the lap times now in clean air. But Owen would make this as Owen chooses to dive into the pit lane. As does Softy, he reacts to Owen. Both cars, and Softy spun it into the pit entry. Softy spun it on pit entry. I've never seen that before. And now Phil's picked up a 3-second time penalty. It's looking very good for Owen. And Softy finally enters the pit lane. But wow, what was that, Barry?
I have no words. Luckily his car ghosted, because Dan in the Ferrari went straight into the pits as well. That could have been a disaster for both drivers there.
Wow. Well, I think Phil should come out ahead of Softy then. Is he going to be behind Owen? Let's see where Phil is. Is Phil? In fact, Phil has jumped Owen. Phil has jumped Owen. So Owen, the undercut has worked a right trick for Phil. He's gone from P3 to P1, of course helped by Softy's incident. But was Owen held up in the pit lane there? Because he's lost a lot of time. He's already 2 seconds back, and of course Phil with a 3-second time penalty. So can Phil now pull an extra second ahead and take the race victory off Owen? The undercut has worked a treat for the Williams driver, and Softy has come out behind his arch nemesis Cliffy. So Softy with it all to do then, Barry.
He has, and yeah, like you say, his enemy Cliffy. The last 2-3 races, these two have been at each other, so it's going to be an interesting battle between these two guys now. But
Definitely
yeah,
will be.
Once James and Jack pit, Phil will have the net lead.
Well, you can see that.
Has he got a penalty, you said?
I believe Phil and Softy are both carrying 3-second time penalties. I'm not sure about Jack and James. Those two, the last two, yet to make a pit stop in this race, but Softy will want to clear Cliffy soon. Cliffy with a disastrous qualifying, a disastrous opening lap, but has now found himself back ahead of Softy, and you can see Cliffy on the soft tyres. But Jack Pearson now choosing to pit. Where will he come out? He could come out behind Owen ahead of Dan. Dan, of course, also looking very good here. 5 seconds back from Owen, who was, of course, the net leader. As Cliffy looks to have made a mistake, and Softy now right on his diffuser, right behind him. Phil and Owen would make it 11 winners from the last 11 races at Singapore, and Phil sets the fastest lap to now pull 3 seconds clear of Owen, and Owen's race win hopes suddenly look to be dashing as Phil gets the gap he needs to win this race, of course carrying a 3-second time penalty. And look at that, Cliffy defending the move into turn 1. Softy clearly faster on these tyres. Softy looking for different lines to try and make his way through into the position. It'll be only for P6. Jack has come out ahead of both of them, so the Renault driver for the first time this
Jack's
season,
got
could
Dan all
outscore
over
his
the back of
teammate.
him.
Dan as well, so there's two
Dan's
fights
got
going on here.
DRS and
You keep an eye on that one, I'll keep an eye on this one. As Softy looks to have made the move on Cliffy, unless Cliffy makes a late lunge down to the breaking point. He hasn't done. And Cliffy, for now, behind Softy. And as you said, Dan and Jack fighting, the two of them fighting for what is potentially the last place on the podium. Of course, these two fighting will help Softy behind, as he hopes to close in on the pair of them. Softy, I think the race win has gone from him today. His horrible luck at Singapore seems to be continuing. Only one of 2 tracks in the current calendar he has never won at in his TGB1 career. Dan the man up the inside, a late lunge, and he taps Jack's car.
oh,
But he looks like he's made the position, as he know he hasn't. He'll slot back in behind Jack. But Dan carrying so much extra speed here, a bit more confidence as well. Jack looking to struggle, looking to feel the pressure. And Dan the man looking to take advantage of that, as Phil now 4 seconds clear of Owen. So Phil looking very good. If he can keep it out of the wars and without cutting any more corners, he's looking very good for his first win of the season.
Into the pits. 6 laps on the Hypersofts. That's pretty good going. That is from James.
That's very good going. A bit of smoke coming out the back of Jack and Dan's car there. I don't think it's anything too serious, as Phil continues to set the fastest laps of 1:38.7. A fantastic run for him, and you can see James up currently 11 places, but of course he has made his pit stop and will drop back probably to around 7th or 8th. Cliffy really struggling on these set of tyres that he's on, of course getting damage early on. But the big movers so far have been Phil, Dan and James. So then, as the race starts to settle down, the best battle on the track is still Jack and Dan fighting for the final podium place. Jack and Dan, who's your money on, Barry?
Oh, I think Dan might get him. After seeing Dan's defending and overtaking in Italy last week, I think Jack could possibly be holding him up, because Softy is catching him.
That's very true.
So
Jack
he could be
Pearson.
playing a team game there, Jack.
Jack looks to be really struggling. Maybe this isn't his pace. Maybe he is, as you said, slowing down to help Softy close in behind, playing the team game. He's looking very good for Renault at the moment to take the constructors' points. And in fact, with Sauber both out of this race, as Dan the man hits the wall, that's going to give him damage. And that is the last thing he needed in this fight with the 2 Renaults. But Ferrari, as I was about to say, are fighting Renault and Sauber for the constructors' title. So this probably could be the team game. Or maybe Jack's just really bad, Barry. Maybe that's an option. But I'd like to think it's the former.
That is possibly, yeah.
Well,
he's on the fresher. Well, I'd say fresher. It's only a lap younger than the guys behind him.
Dan is one of the TGP greats. He has 58 career wins himself, but it should actually be 59, Barry. He once let Jonas through to win the race at Singapore. Jonas went on to lose the championship by 178 points, so I'm not sure Dan's decision to let John through really helped John. John finished 178 points back from the eventual title leader. So Dan, 58 wins, should be 59. Remember that, Barry. I will quiz you on that next week. So Phil leads Owen. Jack in third at the moment. Dan looks to have suffered damage. In fact, now Softy's all over him. Look at that, even with DRS for Dan. Softy's struggling. Dan blocks the inside, but will break late, will he? He gets it actually bang on. And now Softy will look for the inside for the next corner. He'll brake a little later, but can't get it through. And Dan, late on the brakes, keeps the position. Dan still P4 for now. And this will allow Jack to potentially pull away. And Jack is pulling away, so I think Jack was just struggling before. Jack, in fact, only 2 seconds off Owen now. Owen is 6 seconds back from Phil. So has Owen picked up any damage himself, maybe? I don't know if you've seen his car, Barry, but Owen maybe picked up some damage because he was flying at the first half of the race.
He doesn't seem to have any damage. I just caught that then. He is, Jack is catching him. 1.8 behind.
Well, it's looking good for Jack then, looking for his first podium of the season. I'm sure he won't want to give up to his teammate, especially with his teammate in such a good position in the championship. So this is the battle for P3, P4 and P5. We're currently watching 4th and 5th. Softy chasing down Dan, with Jack ahead of the pair of them. But Phil looking very good out front in the lead.
Ooh,
and Owen
James
looking safe for
has
seconds.
just hit the wall. James is catching Cliffy quite rapidly as well. Cliffy also on the slowest tyre, on the soft tyre, and James on the ultra softs, fresh as well.
I think we're about to see Softy make a move on Dan going into turn 1, and Swatch is retired from the race. Disaster for the Mercedes team. But for now, Softy up the inside of Dan the man, takes the position. Dan runs wide. So Softy will therefore take the position, and Dan the man behind will be left in P5. And now James, as you said, also on the back of Cliffy, less than half a second. So he didn't make the move into turn 1. Softy did. on Dan, and Softy spits to the right.
Dan.
Did Dan hit the wall there too?
Let's go back. I'm not sure if it... There's a bit of weaving going on there, but...
Softy blocks the inside. Gets the corner right for the next one, and Dan slots in for now in P5, and you can see James in the background, right on Cliffy, on the quicker tyres. Of course, Cliffy going on the soft tyres, pitting on the first lap. Maybe he felt he had to go on the soft tyres to get to the end of this race. But Cliffy, who has to be a real title contention for next season, is looking to be a battle between Softy and Cliffy next season. We'll can't wait for that one. Cliffy, of course, missing the first few weeks of this season, so was never really in contention.
Well, the way these laps are going, it looks like 6 drivers are battling for P2. You've got Owen in P2, who's only 1.2 ahead of Jack Pearson, with his teammate behind. Dan right on his tail. Cliffy first caught them, and now James caught them. We're going to have a great finish
scrap, isn't it?
to this race.
A real scrap for P4. Softy, Dan, Cliffy and James. About 2 seconds between them. I thought Softy would have pulled away actually from Dan, but the gap has
Jack
stayed under a
Pearson
second.
is in DRS range of Owen, coming into the final corner onto the pit straight.
Good spot. Keep an eye on that one. I think Owen must have damage because he was really flying this first half race. It was looking so good for his first win, but suddenly 7 seconds down since the pit stops. Still complete control of this race. But the main battle at the moment does seem to be Dan, Cliffy and James. Cliffy in a Ferrari sandwich and Dan running really wide at turn 2. Dan the man, I think he's going to be under threat here from Cliffy. Looking back from Cliffy, you can see James behind, but we need to look at Dan ahead. Dan ahead is 4 tenths difference, 3 tenths difference, the gap's coming down. The 2 Ferraris and Cliffy, who's going to be out head first out of this corner? Cliffy and Dan bang wheels. And Dan for now keeps hold of the position. Chopper camp. Dan the man, currently P5. He tries to block the next entry. And James looking racy behind these two. James on much fresher tyres than the 2 ahead. This has allowed Softy to pull clear in P4. And Jack also only half a second now of Owen in P3. So, lots of battles still going on wherever you look. With 5 laps left in this race.
Wow.
It's all happening.
James needs to keep it clean. He needs to finish this race. If he can get a good result in the position he's in, he won't take P2 in this championship, but he's got a good haul of points to gain on Eden for P2 in the championship.
I can tell you, Softy is now closed right on the back of Jack as well. Softy is just 7 tenths off his teammate. Jack now 5 tenths off Owen. So Phil should be safe in the lead unless he throws it away in the closing laps. But you can see battles throughout the field. It's hard to pick one at the moment. Let's see if James can get ahead.
Owen is really struggling.
Let's see if James can get clear. As it looks like Jack's about to allow his teammate to go through, and he does. Softy goes through into P4.
I think he's letting through.
So a bit of team orders maybe there at Renault. Softy now looking good to take P2 surely. Of course, Softy still with a 3-second time penalty, which Owen does not have. So Owen would still have a chance maybe holding on if Softy gets through, but it would look unlikely. So for now the battle has to be Dan, Cliffy and James. Surely James' best chance here. Softy is also about to go around the outside of Owen.
Softy's going for it, going around the outside.
Owen now holds on.
Slightly outbroken himself.
Softy breaks very late.
Oh!
Owen
slight contact, and watch is Jack
goes through.
Jack's gone through.
And Dan the man's out of the race.
Retired.
What happened to Dan? No, Dan. Will Jack allow Softy to go back through again? Not this time. Jack says, mate, you've had your chance. It's my go. Dan the man has binned it. Cliffy and James promoted to 5th and 6th, so good news for them. Dan was ahead of both of them. We had to look away for a few minutes because of this battle here.
I've just been on board with Josh to see where Dan had binned it. I think he's hit the wall, bounced off and spun the car around. That was him. Gone. Oh, and the 2 Renault guys are still going side by side.
I think for the second time in a lap,
P3.
Jack's left his teammate through. It seemed a bit too easy there for Softy, but he takes P3 and now we'll start to hunt down Owen again. But look at this now, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars all now fighting for the final podium place. James in P6 will fancy his chances. He's so used to this extra strategy of starting on the slower tyres and working his way through the field with a faster tyre in the second half of the race, and Softy is all over the place. Can Owen hold on for that position for a little longer? Softy will have the inside for the corner and he will take the position from Owen. Softy now into P2. Owen 3rd, Jack 4th, Cliffy 5th and James just about holding on at the back in P6.
Wow. What a battle.
5-car battle for the final podium place, whilst Phil looks safe. In fact, the final 5-pace battle for second position.
Oh, Cliffy's got a good run. Is he going to dive? No, he's not going to go for it.
He chooses not to. Will he go for the next corner though? Not sure he's not close enough to the Renault driver. Jack will fancy his chances on the back of Owen. Owen, will he keep up with Softy? Of course, a 3-second time penalty for Softy. But Softy's pure pace this season, I'd expect him to pull that 3-second gap, surely.
Yeah, I think Softy's safely got P2 unless something dramatic happens. But yeah, P2 should be Softy's now.
There's a yellow flag in sector 1.
Flag.
Not sure what for. Maybe there's a car stopped out there. But for now, Jack Pearson in 4th, Owen in 3rd, Cliffy 5th and James 6th. A 4-car scrap for the final podium place. Softy looks to be okay for now in 2nd, but of course remember, does have the penalty. So any of these drivers could potentially take that final podium place. This is fantastic. 3 laps to go as they cross the line. Phil now with an 8-second advantage over Softy. In fact, there was about 9 seconds a minute ago, so either Softy's flying, or in fact, look at that, it's an AI car,
That's
sorry.
Mercedes.
It's a Mercedes. As Jack now looking to make the move on Owen to turn 1. The Renault against the Mercedes power. And Jack Pearson makes it 2 Renaults on the podium now. Will we see Jack slow the pace down to allow Softy to get 3 seconds clear? And already Softy is 3 seconds clear of the car behind, so it's looking good for Softy to take P2. Jack Pearson for now holding on ahead of the Force India driver, but you can see Cliffy and James also right behind them, so 4 cars all separated so close. Cliffy looks to the inside of Owen, who's currently trying to scrap with Jack. The 4 cars somehow get through this pretty safe. Cliffy almost bangs wheels. I think he did bang wheels there with Owen. It's chopper cam again. Cliffy round the outside of Owen. The 2 of them bang wheels.
Hit again.
And Cliffy with the inside of the next corner. And he goes through. And now James is about to compile
James
more
is gonna
despair for Owen, I think. James backs out of it. But Owen now, who was looking so good for the race win early on, is now down to P5. And I've got to say, this scrap is fantastic.
It is very, very good scrap. I'd just point out quickly, Phil, who had an 8-second lead, it's down to 6.7.
It is coming down very quickly.
So Softy in clean air is absolutely flying.
I wonder if Phil has picked up some damage, because the lead was around 9 seconds. It's now down to less than 6.5. It's coming down very quickly. So maybe Phil's just taking it easy, taking it a bit more cautiously in the closing laps. But that lead is coming down as Owen bangs the wall himself and picks up some more damage.
He did hit the wall in there.
Of course, Phil also has a time penalty, and the lead is coming down. It's down to less than 6 seconds now, so keep an eye on that one. Does Phil have some damage on that Williams? It'll be huge sadness for him if he loses it, as James gets a better exit on Owen going across the start finish line and takes P5 ahead of the Force India driver. He looks to be safe there. Wow.
Cliffy's, point out Cliffy's doing really well on the soft tyre as well. He's done 12, he pitted on lap, was it the end of lap 1 or lap 2?
It was the end of lap 1 indeed. So he's doing great on those soft tyres, and you can see, looking for a podium position here against Jack, and the lead for Phil and Softy is down to 5.5 seconds. So Phil is either taking it cautiously or struggling with some sort of damage. Cliffy looking to take the podium place off Jack. Jack looking for his first podium of the season. And James in 5th, about 1.5 seconds back now from the 2, so could be hoping for a bit of carnage between these 2. And the lap and a half is looking very good for Cliffy's teammate, Phil Boswell.
Yeah, quick mention to the guys at the back, P8, P7, Goins is gradually reeling in Josh, but it's 1.6 gap. Only 9, well, 8 runners left. We've got 9 runners with the AI of Mercedes, but only 8 runners left in this race.
Yeah, with 16 starters, 8 runners left, so half the field have binned it. It's proven to be a tricky circuit for the drivers. Singapore catching them all out, as it usually does. Thank God we didn't get any rain here today. Imagine what happened there. And there's the blue smoke again I was talking about on the back of Cliffy's car. I'm sure it's just a game feature, because if I was Cliffy I'd be a bit worried about that. But the battle on the last lap as Phil starts his final run to the flag. Softy's looking good for 2nd. Jack should take P3 if he can hold back Cliffy here, and James also joining the fight, going for one last push. Maybe he was saving his ears on the lap before, knowing the 2 in front were scrapping away. So let's see if there's any position changes on this final lap. Who's your money on, Barry?
Oh, I think Jack will be fine.
You think Jack will be fine? Last time you said something, the opposite happened. Let's see if you're right this time.
That is very true. That's very true. But Cliffy's been on them tyres a long time now, so I think they're going to be pretty tired.
I think you're right. Phil, 3 seconds clear of Softy now, so that lead has shrunk down from the 9 seconds it was. Imagine if Softy had this pace early on in the race. Imagine if Softy hadn't spun into the pit lane. If you didn't see that before, rewind back. Softy spinning on pit entry, costing himself around 7 seconds. But Phil, I think, should be safe, surely.
They're on the same straight. He's closed in so quickly. They're on the same straight coming into turn 15.
Well, Cliffy just 3/10 back from Jack. He's running out of opportunities to get through. As I think Phil should be approaching the start-finish line anytime soon. Barry, let me know when he approaches the final couple of corners. We'll switch to him for that. But for now, it's just Cliffy all over the back of Jack. Is he going to find the move? Is he going to get through in time? He's looking everywhere, but Phil Bardwell is going to come round to take the victory as Jack makes a mistake and hits. Oh, the two of them come together and James goes through and takes the podium. James takes the podium as Cliffy. Phil wins the race, Softy second, and James can't believe his luck. He takes the final podium place. He's going to be P3. Jack will be fourth, Cliffy in fifth. I'm glad we stuck that for a little longer. Wow. And look at that. What a scrap. Jack and Cliffy coming together, and wow, Barry, what happened there? What did you make of that?
Unfortunately, I was on board with Phil, so I didn't actually see it. But I would just point out quickly, Softy crossing the line was down to 1.5 seconds behind Phil. Another lap. Softy with a win.
As I has spinned it as well on the start-finish line.
But
takes P8, but wow, yeah, indeed. Jack and Cliffy both throwing away the podium at the end. Once again, your prediction came wrong.
It did. Did. But yeah. I will point out also with James getting that P3 podium, I do believe, if my calculations are correct, he does take second in the title fight.
Fantastic. Fantastic news for James as Phil takes his first race win of the season for Williams. A fantastic drive from him. Fantastic pace. Softy in second. He'll happy with that after his misfortune earlier on, and James with another fantastic podium place. I bet he can't believe his luck as the two cars ahead of him binned it. In fact, James only 6 seconds off the lead in the end, with Phil and Softy having their
top two had the penalties, didn't they?
They did. So, wow, what a race. Do you want to take us through the race result, Barry?
Yep. Okay, so we got Phil in the Williams getting his first win of the season.
First win of the season.
Good, great result for him. Softy, championship leader in P2, and then you've got James rounding out the top three in the Ferrari in third. Jack Pearson fourth. Cliffy up to fifth. Owen will be slightly disappointed, down in sixth. Josh takes seventh, Goins in eighth. John in ninth. Dan the Man in 10th. And was it Smudge in 11th?
It was. So then, only 8 finishes in the end from a 16-car starting grid. The drivers finding Singapore a tricky one to finish, and a disaster for Aiden, whose championship hopes look to be disappearing now, as of course Softy taking a crucial 18 points, and Aiden sticking it in the wall, scoring absolutely nothing. So, Softy against Aiden. Do you think Softy's got a title in the bag now?
He should have. He should have. He doesn't seem to make very many mistakes. Doesn't get a lot of DNFs. He's had 6 wins already this season. It's Softy's to lose, really. The battle for second is going to be interesting. I do believe Aiden has rejoined for this race. The battle in the constructors is quite interesting, though. You know, Sauber having another disappointing run. Good result for Ferrari, so they're closing the gap for the second place. And before this, before Singapore, 4th and 5th in the constructors was only a point between Force India and Williams. So I do believe with Phil getting that win, Williams have moved ahead of Force India in the constructors up into 4th.
Well, it looks like Phil actually, sorry, not Phil, Owen himself picked up damage on the pit entry. We saw Softy spin it. It looks like Owen might have done the same too, because he did actually have to repair his front wing, which is why Phil came out ahead of the pair of them. And of course, since Phil didn't look back, and Paul has shared an image of a cat in a Russian hat at Moscow saying welcome to Sochi. So thank you, Paul. We are off to Sochi now for the 16th round of the season, and the circuit, is this a good circuit for you, Barry?
I don't like the circuit, to be honest. It's a pretty boring track.
Neither do I.
But saying that, I have gone pretty well here. My last 3 seasons in TGB2, P8, P7, P5. So I've gone well here. So we shall see tomorrow what happens.
We shall see, indeed.
But I will point out turn 3. Turn 3 is a good corner, but apart from that, it's a disappointing track.
Yeah, I've got to say, it's not really a circuit that I've done well at in the past myself. It's obviously a tricky circuit. A lot of corners you've got to get right, and a strict corner cutting is going to catch out a few of the drivers too.
It does catch out a lot of drivers, that does.
Looking at some of the comments in the stream. Saya Sports, good to see them tuning in. Of course, Saya Sports providing us with the lovely graphics that you see on the Twitter account. So thank you to Saya Sports. He shouted out loud when Softy spawned into the pit entry. So Saya Sports enjoying that moment. Whilst he also said that Dan the Man, classic PS4 era Dan. Of course, Dan, strong pace, usually sticks it in a wall, which is a shame because Dan, of course, on 58 race wins, should be 59. Used to be a different man. All the comments. The Soft Cop says, and the wait for Singapore win continues. Of course, as I said, yet to take a victory at Singapore. He's won everywhere apart from there in Australia, so he'll have to wait another season for that. And Paul says, hi mummy, and shout out to LMC Josh. So thank you, Paul, for your shout out to LMC Josh. I hope he enjoyed that. Well, here we are then for the Russian Grand Prix. As you said, Barry, not a circuit that's liked between all the drivers, but it's 18 laps. The tyres here are the Hypersoft, Ultrasoft and Soft. It's 13 turns, just under 6 kilometre lap, and it's an 18 lap race. So drivers to watch, you've got to say, have to be, of course, Softy again. Cliffy should be back to his normal pace here, and it does look like we've got a dry qualifying session in store, so the drivers shouldn't be getting caught out by any rain during qualifying. In all 10 TGB1 races to be held here, pole has only gone on to win once, so pole position might not necessarily be the place you want to be for this race. Only once in 10 races has pole gone on to win. That was Johners back in season 28. Now, before today, Aiden of course came into tonight as a title contender against Softy, and this is what Aiden had to say to the press before the Singapore Grand Prix, in which he crashed out at.
Yeah, looking forward to getting back into the car. Obviously it feels like forever since I've raced a Cyber. It's gonna probably take some getting used to again. It's not quite ingrained in there just yet, but you know, Cyber obviously haven't had the best 2 weeks, and you know, we need to change that around. Obviously the championship isn't looking too great. I didn't have high hopes in the first place, but I think coming back to try and secure P2 and hopefully try and change the constructors about, I think is the main target for us. We want to win the constructors, and I want to finish as high as possible. I think I'll still have some decent pace to grab a podium, maybe try and get on the front row, but you know, it's going to be tough. You know, I need to get used to the car quite quickly and find the setup before obviously qualifying in the race. But yeah, looking forward to it.
Sauber scored 1 point in Singapore, so Aiden was far off with his pre-race preview there. Can Sauber now respond? Renault picked up 30 points at Singapore compared to the 1 of Sauber, and even Ferrari, despite James's podium, picked up 18, so a 12-point loss to Renault. And of course, Williams just about in the fight themselves. Phil taking the win has kept them in it. 35 points for Williams, so they got the most points out of all the teams there. So the constructors fight is going to be one to watch. We've got a 4-way battle for that, so that's going to be an interesting eye in the closing weeks of the season. Now, qualifying. Who do we want to watch out for? Owen in the Force India was going for a run of 4 podiums in a row until he lost it at Singapore. But Owen Quenby has proven to be a bit of a hit in qualifying lately, taking positions higher up than you'd usually expect. So can Owen, as the sector 3, has seen a yellow flag already? Owen slows down to prepare for his lap time. Let's get some lap data on your screen to see how these drivers fare during qualifying. Qualifying now 18 minutes, which is 6 minutes too long in my opinion. Used to be 12 minutes. It's now up to 18, which gives the drivers a bit more time to, you know, get a second or third lap in. But qualifying 18 minutes, a bit too long in my opinion. Barry, what are your thoughts on that?
No, I agree. Yeah, it should be 12 minutes. 18 minutes, a bit too long. I just point out quickly, gotta love Joe Sayer for doing all these race info and whatnot. I do believe he's made a bit of a mix-up though for Russia.
Oh, classic Joe. What's he done, Barry? Come on, spill the beans. What's he done? Let's highlight it on the screen.
It's not 18 laps, it's 13 laps.
Oh, brilliant.
It's 19 turns. You could say it's 18 turns, but Joe might hate me for that, but...
Well, I'm glad you pointed out, Barry. The world needs to know that Joe does get things wrong. Very poor from Joe. Very poor from Joe. Sorry, carry
but yeah, it's technically turn 1, but it's a kink down into turn 2. 19 turns, 7 to the left, 12 to the right. And you did mention it's Hypersoft, Ultrasofts and the soft tyre.
Okay, so we got something right. That's good.
Yes. For me, drivers to watch out for, possibly Phil. He's had 5 podiums here. James has also had two wins here, but that was on the PS3 era. So they're also drivers to watch out for.
In fact, Jack, Softy and James are the only drivers on the grid to have won here in TGB1. So only 3 drivers have tasted success at Russia. As you said, James winning twice back in season 20 and season 21. So Owen, for now, goes 7/10 back from going, so 4 lap from him. You won't be happy with that run time. Only 3 drivers yet to set laps. Mike, of course, crashing out in Singapore, bringing his horrible streak of non-points finishes continuing for, I think, 7 races now. So Mike needs to get back in the score sheet soon if he's to pick up points for his McLaren team. McLaren suffering similar problems to the real-life world of Formula 1. But for now, other cars out on laps. Smudge looks to be on a lap. Dan the Man, normally when we spectate him, he makes a mistake. So get ready for your entertainment lap of the week. Dan the Man, surely, I seem to be a jinx from every time I spectate him. He seems to make mistakes. So let's see if Dan the Man...
Yeah, I think Dan's just starting a second run. He cut the last corner, so I think he invalidated his lap.
Of course, proving to be a tricky one to...
His ERS is quite low, so I think he's on a second run.
I think you might be right. Of course, straight corner caught in here, so the drivers will have to get used to it. Try not to cut those corners just too much. Keep it in the track. Don't go over the curbs enough.
Point out quickly, James gone second on the Ultrasoft.
So
the only
James,
driver on a different tyre.
Looking to go for the alternate strategy as Dan the Man almost bins it. My jinx of watching him and seeing incidents almost continued. Dan the Man, I fear he may have also cut another corner earlier on this lap, so this lap might also be an invalidated one as Jack goes third quick. As you can see, Goings for now with a 1:31.5, 4/10 clear of the rest. But as you said, a lot of drivers yet to actually start their first runs. So this is why I said qualifying's too long. It's 18 minutes and we're only seeing 5 drivers go out so far. Now things start to get interesting as Dan the Man looks to complete his first run. Will this be a lap time he gets on the board, or will he dive into the pit lane? I think he's going to dive into the pit lane. This is a unique pit lane to other circuits. You can see he goes around the 2 penultimate corners. And now let's find our next driver to follow. So John, new to this season.
It's coming towards the end of the lap.
Good spot. Aiden, a title contender for now, holds on to that at least. Looking to set his first lap here at Russia, a circuit he needs to respond at. He's not done well here in the past, but he needs a result now here more than ever, because Softy is having a fantastic season and looks to be getting ever closer to that title. But now Aiden, can he respond? His first lap puts him quick as a 1:31.3. It's the lap he needed. and he's 2/10 clear going, so a perfect first lap. How can Softy respond? Softy just starting his lap now in the Renault. A 1:31.3 he needs to beat, and I think he's going to be very close to that. In practice he was setting similar lap times to what Aiden has just set, so it should be very tight between them. You can see Goings behind Softy on an outlap, but Softy looking to respond to Aiden's benchmark time of a 1:31.3. I think times should come down. We might even see maybe into the 1:30s later on in the session, but let's see how Softy gets close to Aiden's lap time, keeping it perfectly in the lines of the circuit. Softy, he'll be happy with P2 from Singapore, but it could have been a lot more. It also could have been a lot worse. So of course having that hilarious spin into the pit lane, ruining his chances of the victory. But can he get back to winning ways here at Russia? Around the final few corners. Looks to have been a clean lap so far from Softy. In fact, Goings sticking behind him, so Goings not backing off that much. Tyre wear not really a major factor here. So Softy crosses the line. Can he respond? And there you go. I said we might be in the 1:30s. Softy smashes it at 1:30.7, and we've got a new benchmark time.
That was a solid lap from Softy. But for Aiden at the moment, P2 is not a bad place to be starting. Getting the slipstream down here, you've got a good chance of taking the lead into turn 2.
Indeed, and Softy, of course, on 40 race victories, made it 40 last time out. He is just 2 behind Jonas now. John is 4th in the all-time list, so Softy very quickly moving up the table. 40 race victories, and with the pole at Singapore last time out, he now also has 35 pole positions. 4 off Ben, who sits 5th overall. So Softy, 1 for stats. They'll be happy to hear he's moving up, but so far tonight, he's only gone up in the poles list. Can Softy get back to winning ways this time round? Can Goings respond then to Softy's 1:30.7?
It's starting to rain. It's starting to rain.
It is. The rain is starting to. I said at the start of qualifying, the drivers won't have to worry about any rain, but I was wrong. It's starting to rain.
I'm just on board with Paul. Paul's coming into the last few corners now to set a lap time. I've just seen the rain spots on his car.
This is disastrous news for Paul, Phil, Cliffy, who are yet to set lap times. Dan as well.
He's setting a lap. It's going to be a decent lap. P4.
Paul's gone 4th, yeah. Can Goings improve on P3? This is going to be the final lap, surely, for these drivers to get good times. And Goings stays 3rd, so doesn't respond. Where Phil's only starting his lap.
Oh, Cliffy.
Phil's only now starting his lap time. Cliffy, is he also about to start his lap time? I think he is. These drivers have left it too late.
Starting.
So Phil, Cliffy, only now starting their lap times. Dan the man, I believe, is on a lap, as is Smudge. So these drivers, it's raining. Is it raining enough? Can these drivers still set competitive lap times? Softy's pole position, 6/10 clear, by the way, looks to be safe because of this late rain shower.
Goings in P3, it's going to be a good starting position for him in the Red Bull.
It's going to be a fantastic position for him if he can stay there, and I think there's a very good chance of it too with this rain.
Both Williams, P13, 14, no time set. Disappointing starting position for them guys.
Claire Williams will not be happy with her boys. Cliffy and Phil right at the back, currently on the 7th row of the grid. 13th and 14th. The rain pouring as well now. Let's see if Dan...
Oh, Cliffy almost binned it into the wall.
Cliffy then almost binning his chances, so it is slippery out there. Can Dan get into the top 10? He goes 6th, so he goes 6th quickest, just behind his teammate.
Across the line.
Phil goes 9th.
P9.
So what can Cliffy do? If you hit the wall, as you said, I'm not sure he'll be a competitive lap time from him, but Cliffy, for the 2nd race in a row, is going to start further down the field than he would have liked to. This has been a disastrous night, and in fact, Cliffy backs out of it. Is he going to go again?
Yeah.
Surely it's going to get too wet, though, if he just goes for another run now. A lot of the drivers are still out on track. Only Mike, John, in fact Softy now as well, and Goings have dived into the pit lane.
Cliffy's time was invalidated. So
Softy.
This is the one. Softy's gone.
Softy's seen enough. He's happy with that P1. He's calling it a day for him. He's happy with that at that time. He's not sure it's going to be beaten with this rain shower. Aiden then, he'll be happy with that. He starts back into positions he saw himself earlier in the season. But Cliffy, he's got the blue smoke again out in the rear of his car, but a disastrous night for him so far. P5 in Singapore, and it looks like he's going to start at the back here at Russia because it's raining. A late shower here at Russia has thrown qualifying suddenly up in the air, and Softy looks safe for P1, Barry.
As Aiden has also retired. So yeah, it looks like qualifying could be over.
The top two are safe. And again, this backs our point up. The qualifying should be a bit shorter. 18 minutes is too long, Codemasters. Get it sorted for the new game. Or at least give us the option to tweak the length of qualifying. Yellow flags in sectors 2 and 3. A lot of the cars now, in fact, coming to the pit lane. Only Jack, Phil and Cliffy are out there on laps at the moment. Phil, I believe, is diving into the pit lane. Jack's retired, so it is just Cliffy left. Let's see where he can put that Williams. He'll be hoping for a top 10 at least, but with Phil only 9th. The race winner from Singapore. He goes second! Cliffy goes second!
Wow.
So, what a lap from Cliffy. P2 here at Russia. He's still half a second back from Softy, but of course it's raining out there, so a fantastic lap from him. And suddenly he's on the front row of the grid going into the race. Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily...
on the ultra soft tyre as well. If it's a dry race, he's on the alternate strategy.
What a
And
lap
it was
from Cliffy.
A second run as well.
So a second run on the apparent lesser quicker tyres on a wet track. Cliffy only half a second up Softy. And wow. Well, I'm hoping that this race finishes in time for Amstel Lab tonight, because I don't know if you've been watching, Barry, but I'm a big fan of Amstel Lab. You have been watching?
Oh yes.
Oh, brilliant. What do you think of Holly?
Since day one.
What do you think of Holly?
Say again, sorry.
What do you think of Holly? Good replacement for Ant?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know, Barry.
I did, well, no, you can't beat Ant and Deck, but I did make a joke. It should have been Phil and Holly and chuck Deck into the jungle.
Oh, Barry, that's quite a shout from you there. I'm not sure. I mean, Deck would be a big name for the jungle. But as you said, I mean, apparently they're going to throw 2 more names in there, as they usually do after a week. And apparently, the two people that they're putting into the jungle are Noel Edmonds and Softcop.
Yes, I heard that.
Apparently, Softcop is also going into the jungle. Have you heard anything about that, Barry?
I haven't heard that, but that will be a good one. Yeah.
Softcop potentially going into the jungle with TGB1 yet to finish this season. So, wow. Well, I'm glad you watched I'm a Celebrity too, Barry. It's a fantastic program. I'm sorry we're having to talk about this, but with the rain here in Russia, there's not really much track action. In fact, Goings is going out to give us a bit of entertainment. Let's see how Goings spins this one in his Red Bull. Goings has been...
Paul is also out as well.
Paul having been linked to the likes of Ayrton Senna, Michael Schumacher and Alan Prost. Paul, a real legend of TGP. Goings has been linked to the Cesares and Maldonado, so not quite in the same league. But Goings looking to set another lap time. Can he improve on that 1:31.5? The rain's not that bad. I mean, it's obviously damp out there, but it's not massive and it doesn't appear to be sticking to the track that much. So can Goings? I don't think he can improve, but we didn't think Cliffy could, and he went P2. So Goings crosses the line. He makes no improvement. In fact, he's a second down. So I think it is now a little too wet out there for the drivers. Paul McGee's giving it a run. He's got nothing to lose. He's going to start P5 at worst at the moment. So might as well go out, see if he can gain any time on the front. And of course he'll be occupied to see that Cliffy did improve on his lap time. James also going out for a run. So I'm glad the drivers are going out. Obviously they weren't happy with what I was talking about Celebrity, Barry. They will listen to the commentary. They weren't happy about it. They thought they'd go out, set some lap times, so at least we would stop having to talk about Celebrity. And don't worry, the race should finish in time for you I'm a Celebrity fans. And Paul goes very wide off the circuit with 1.5 minutes to go. Goings retired as well. It looks like qualifying is done. So going into the race, Barry, who is your money on to take top spot here at Russia? Sounds like Barry's not actually there, so I will have to answer it for him. I think that Softy will be the man to beat. Of course, Cliffy, Aiden, interesting to see if they can get ahead of Cliffy going into turn 1. Barry, who's your money on?
There we are. Sorry about that. Top 3 is going to be very interesting. Obviously, Softy and Cliffy are there together again, but Aiden will have a point to prove. So I'm going to push the boat out, and I'm going to say Aiden's going to lead into turn 2.
Ooh. So a fan of Aiden. Here's Barry. But with just less than half a minute to go now in qualifying, the drivers just setting final runs maybe to prepare themselves for the race, because we're not expecting to see any late improvements now from the drivers. In fact, Owen has called it a day. I think he's actually binned it rather than retire from the track. Sector 1 and 2 under yellow temporarily. Paul McGee looking for a response. Sauber need a response. Sauber have a real shot of winning the Constructors' title. Aiden and Paul having a nightmare last 5 races. Really struggling. They've lost a huge advantage. I think they were 60 points clear at one moment. But Renault now with a slender advantage, and Paul drifting round the corners, showing his rally skills here at Russia. Can Paul cross the line and give us a bit of a show? He slips again. Can he drift around the next corner to make it 3 in a row? Oh, he can. Paul McGee crosses the line and of course stays 5th. None of these drivers improving. Cliffy, James, the last runners out on track. Cliffy wants to get Amaceleb started, so he retires from the session. Is James a fan of Amacelebrity, or will he continue to stay out and delay Amacelebrity? Looks like he doesn't care about Amaceleb. He's going to continue and complete his lap, despite it clearly being too wet out there to make an improvement. Although DRS is still in fact enabled, so it's clearly not wet enough to disable that. So the race director clearly thinks it is dry enough for now to be on the dry tyres. And let's see if James can get around these final few corners without sneaking it in the barriers. Limping it around in the Ferrari. But James, very regularly this season we've seen Dan out-qualify his teammate. But this time James has beaten him. And as you said, he's boxing into the pit lane, which brings an end to qualifying, and that gives Softy an 8th pole position of the season. He's had 2 tonight, so fantastic news for him. In fact, it's his 35th now in TGB1 compared to his 40 race wins. So Softy, with an excellent night so far, will start on pole position. Cliffy,
disappointing. Sorry, Dom. Disappointing for Phil down in P10.
In fact, that is P10 for Phil, so 1.5 seconds back, getting it all wrong, choosing to go out when the track was already starting to rain, starting to drizzle. But Softy and Cliff is your front row. Aiden and Gomes will be back in the second row. Paul and James 5th and 6th. Dan, Jack, Smudge and Phil rounding out the top 10. Let's see if Smudge and John can have a better outing than what they had in Singapore. Both their debuts. Let's see if the two Mercedes drivers can get a strong result for their team. Josh in 14th, Mike 12th, and Owen down in 11th position. So Owen, normally doing well in the wet, has struggled here for this one. So as you said, it's going to be between surely Softy, Cliffy and Aiden going down to turn 1. It's such a run down to turn 1, isn't it?
It is. Very long run. So being on pole can be not the best place to start unless you get a really good start off the line, get the traction and get the power down. So it's going to be an interesting battle down that straight, and it looks to be a dry race.
It does look to be dry. Let's see if that stays that way. Of course, we weren't expecting rain in qualifying, but it did appear later on.
And the guys that qualified in the top 10, James and Cliffy, on the alternate strategy.
And it's lights out. Away we go. Softy leads. A great start for him. Cliffy second. He's locked in behind. Aiden already down to 4th place. Goings with a fantastic start. The two Saubers move to the left and right. There's been a huge crash. And oh my god. Oh, 2 cars, 3 cars round. Huge bodywork everywhere. 4 cars round. The Mercedes appearing to just spin into the path of Phil. And wow, a huge drama there. 4 cars in the walls at the front. Aiden's back into 2nd place. Cliffy right on the back of him. I've not seen that before ever. That's probably the worst crash I've ever seen in a TGP race. That was horrific. 4 cars were collected in the end. I think it's Phil, Smudge, Goings and Mike again. Mike really struggling this season. But Aiden somehow back into second place despite a scruffy start. Cliffy in third. Jack fourth. Paul into fifth. So it was Aiden that was collected, I think. Oh no, sorry, it was Paul that was collected. But he managed to get away from the Goings incident. Of course, Goings and whichever Sauber it was, causing that carnage further back. Of course, cars not ghosting when they crash, just like real life. So the cars behind all having to avoid, but absolute disaster for Cliffy, Goings and Phil there. And we can see Aiden looking to get a move on Softy. Aiden going for what would be his first win of the season, despite being a title contender. Would take his first win of the season, which is quite remarkable really for someone who considered a title contender. But Softy for now holds on to the lead. Of course, Cliffy as well in third place on the slower tyres. He will switch to the Hypersoft in the second stint of the race. Tyre wear not a huge factor here though. So Softy 4 tenths clear of his rival, his title rival, the 3 title contenders in the top 3. James down in 10th position. He himself is actually second in the championship now after the way the results went in Singapore. But James currently about to make a move, I think, on John for P9. With Owen just ahead of him too, so there's a battle throughout the field. Let's try and stick with this one for now. James will go to the right of John. John will defend that, so James pulls left. Will he brake later and get the move ahead of the Mercedes driver? The Mercedes driver looks himself to be going against Owen. But James for now continues to stick with the driver in front. But Cliffy also racing Aiden for P2. He wants to get clear himself and give Softy what would be a push for the victory. The top 3 will all fancy their chances here, as will Jack maybe himself in P4 as James brakes lay up the inside. The 2 of them make slight contact. But for now, John remains ahead of the Ferrari driver. But this time James goes through and takes the position. Back on board then with Cliffy, chasing down Aiden and Softy. The top 3, about a second between them. The top 3 all have a strong chance here of victory, but if second and third stop to scrap, it could allow Softy to pull clear. But what a start to this race. We see now Cliffy looking to get through on Aiden round the outside. He can't get it done there. He'll look for the next corner, but Softy still unable to pull away. In fact, he's a second clear now. DRS is now activated. So Cliffy with the advantage of DRS there on Softy. Not sure if, sorry, on Aiden. Not sure if Aiden had it himself on Softy. But Aiden now is a second back, and Cliffy now just 2 tenths behind. Should get DRS assistance after this start finish line and potentially take P2 from Aiden. Wow, what a start, Barry.
A hectic start. I had no idea what happened with the start. There was cars all over the place.
Wasn't great, was it?
Caused it. It wasn't great.
Cliffy around that side of Aiden. The 2 of them going side by side into turn 1, and Cliffy's forced wide, and the 2 of them make contact.
Spun him.
And Aiden is out of the race. Cliffy and Aiden coming together. Not the cleanest start to this race. And Aiden down in P9, out of this race. The 2 of them locking wheels. It looked like the 2 of them were stuck to each other, which sent Aiden into the wall, and more despair for Sauber. Their season has really shot down. They were 60 points clear at one point in the Constructors, and now it looks like for a 6th race in a row they're not going to be picking up much points. There's now Softy with a 2-second advantage over Cliffy thanks to all that. Dan the man, honourable shout out to him, and Josh behind them. Look at this, we've got Josh, Paul and Dan all fighting for P4, 5 and 6. And in fact Owen right behind them as well, and of course you can never discount James, who did get clear of the Mercedes driver eventually. But this is the scrap to watch. James hunting down Dan, who himself is hunting down Paul. Can Dan get it moved down here?
Josh has had a great start, starting at the back of the field.
He has, and look at that, Dan into P4 ahead of Paul, and Josh now looking for a move on Paul. We're getting very close side by side. Paul runs wide, and that will allow Josh to go through a position and take P5. Dan suddenly up to 4th, and Paul suddenly down to 6th. So not what Paul wanted. Paul should be safe from Owen for now. None of the front runners choosing to pit just yet, as Cliffy takes half a second out of Softy's advantage. Josh getting very close to the back of the Ferrari of Dan. Ferrari themselves do have a chance of winning the Constructors. And you can see Josh is going to have it moved down to turn 1 on lap 4. Dan defends the inside, so Josh will have to go left. Can the Haas driver get clear of the Ferrari driver? Look at how much speed he's got. And what a move. He goes round the outside to take the position, but he does actually cut the corner on the inside of the following corner. And picks up a 3-second time penalty. So Dan the man and Paul in a net really P4 and P5 as Owen is the first of the front runners to pit.
Yep, onto the ultra softs, so he'll be going to the end. But I gotta say, Josh from the back of the grid up into P4, and on the alternate strategy, he could be the one to watch for this race. Good result for him.
Phil also in the pits down in P12, does not being the race he would have wanted, getting involved in that messy turn 1 carnage. In fact, it wasn't even turn 1. Do we count the little right kink as a turn 1, or was that not a turn?
Me personally, it's not. It's a kink, it's not a turn. On paper it is a turn, it's turn 1, but no, it was on the straight.
Right, okay, so on the straight, not even before the real turn 1, we saw 4 cars in what's going to be probably the dirtiest start I've ever seen to a race. So we've
sorry,
seen
my bad.
Softy's pitted,
Softy's in the pit.
as has
I
Dan.
thought there was a change for the lead.
So Cliffy will now take over at the front. We saw Odems last season with an almighty overcut here at Russia, which won him the race from much further down the field. Fantastic drive from him.
James has got DRS on Paul.
He does. Ferrari against Sauber, both Ferrari powered. Paul in currently P3, thanks to the 2 Renaults pitting. In fact, one of the Renaults had to queue, because both Softy and Jack came into the pit, and I think there was enough gap between the two of them. In fact, Dan slotting between them. But James all over the back of Paul and on the ultra-soft tyres compared to Paul's hypersoft. So Paul will be going to a slower tyre in this second stint to what James is on. And James, look how much quicker he is. He's so much faster.
Paul needs a good result here. Sauber have had another disappointing week, and Ferrari could take P2 in the constructors, with both Ferraris still running.
Ferrari and Sauber scrapping away helps Renault massively. Jack finally starting to turn his season around, finally getting the points that Softy's been crying for all season from his teammate. And now this looks to be James's best chance yet on Paul. These two well-respected drivers in TGP, both champions in different leagues, and James goes round the outside, easy as you like, and he goes wide though, and now will Paul go back around the outside of him. Fantastic racing from these two drivers. Always expect clean battles with these two, and for now it's James who has the advantage. He has the inside for the next corner and takes the position from Paul eventually. He's into P3, and will we see Paul now dive into the pit lane, or maybe the Mercedes behind? Paul chooses to stay out, as does John in P5. Softy in clean air, which is good news for him. He will be the net leader once all the drivers ahead have made their pit stops. You can see the top 5 having made massive gains, but of course all yet to make their stops. So now
Cliffy's
John,
about to, sorry Dom, Cliffy's about to lap his teammate. He's that far ahead.
John with a move up turn 1 that goes very wide, and Paul will go back through the position. John lets him through again, so John leaving his brakes a little late there, and Paul retakes the position. But Cliffy, as you said, now 6 seconds clear of Josh, and will we see Cliffy come in anytime soon? Of course, Cliffy on the alternate strategy to
Jack
Softy.
Pearson down the inside.
I've down the man. These two scrapping away, fantastic to see, and Phil picks up a penalty himself. Force India of Owen behind these two.
Around the outside.
This will be some move if he makes it stick. Up the inside for the next corner, and Dan takes the position, but Jack fights back and takes it back to the next corner.
Watch out for the Force India.
The three of them are so close, 2 tenths between them, but Dan takes the position, and Owen gets round Jack as well.
Jack gets a penalty as well.
So Jack's lost 2 places and picked up a time penalty for cutting the corner. So Jack Pearson, looking so well, has dropped 2 places. Dan and Owen now into, in fact these two will be fighting for a podium place, I think, once Cliffy, Josh and James make their stops. John is on the back of Paul once again. It's down to 3:10, so let's see if he can get through here. Look at this, Paul really struggling on those tyres. Will this be Paul's chance to make his pit stop? Paul in fact does pit, as does the Mercedes driver, both of them pitting. Getting the penalty right there, but back to this battle here between Dan, Owen and Jack, as John unfortunately picks up a time penalty for corner cutting, it looks like. So I'm not sure what that is, because John did appear to pit, maybe ran around wide at pit entry and then came back in but got the penalty for it. But Dan for now ahead of Owen, who's ahead of Jack. Jack refines his pace. He struggled for a lap because these two got clear, but Jack now back on it again. You can see how close he is to the 2 cars in front as Paul rejoins behind this pair. Paul and John back in 8th and 9th now, so those scrapping away. And look at that, nowhere near these front 3.
Owen goes defensive.
Owen is defensive, and he goes very wide.
Gone for a dive.
And he spins himself round. A late launch from Owen. Not the best move that to be in all race. But Owen, with a very late launch, tried to back out of it, but it was too late. Tagged the back of Dan, trying to avoid him, and spun himself round. So Owen down to P7. Miscommunication there, and Jack has apparently picked up a penalty for gaining a place through corner cutting, which I'm sure will be revoked after the race, because that is of course a common glitch with Codemasters. If Jack finishes the race, that is. Unfortunately, if you overtake a car that is off the track in a separate incident, sometimes the game does give you a time penalty, but of course that will be removed after the event. Once that is proven, as Paul is taken over for P7, so Paul's starting to work his way back up to the field now.
Owen's got major damage on that wing. John's taking
He does. John goes through, so Paul with a poor move on Dan into turn 1. Got it all wrong, tried to back out of it, but it was too late. As we see John looking to go for a move on Paul ahead. As Softy sets the fastest lap with a 1:33.2. And we should expect to see dive into the pit lane this time around. But Cliffy, Josh and James now with 6 laps to go remain out on track, yet to make their pit stops, as Josh picks up a time penalty and Owen does indeed pit for a new front wing. So, where will Softy rejoin after this? And to top off,
speeding penalty.
Oh, he's now got a speeding penalty. Being an amateur race for him.
Oh dear.
I look forward to watching his race highlights back.
Disappointing for Phil and Owen. Had such a good race in Singapore, and they've both had a shocker in this race.
Phil taking his first win in Singapore of the season. His first win on the new game, down in P12 this time, and miles back from the front 11. And we did say Jack Pearson needs to keep it within the track limits, and already having picked up a second 3-second time penalty. But the fight as we get towards the end of the race, it's Cliffy, Josh and James. 5.5 laps to go, so don't worry, we will finish in time for I'm a Celebrity. Cliffy leads from James. Josh with a penalty for corner cutting, but Softy, of course, now on the ultra soft tyres, looking to come on the first three. What's that?
Did I read that right? Cliffy got a 10-second penalty for corner cutting?
I'm not sure, I didn't see that. Nothing came up on my screen, but he did appear to be stationary in the pit stops for quite a while. But he's left the pit lane, and Softy does come out ahead. So Softy now retakes the lead of this race. Cliffy attacking, but on the fresher tyres. You can see him leaving now ahead of the other cars behind. Josh, where will he come out? Will he be third ahead of the scrapping Ferraris? He is. So he's third, James fourth, Dan will be fifth. Sorry, Dan jumps his teammate. So Dan will take P4 from James. And Jack Pearson will be very close behind James, and you can see Jack actually gets ahead of the Ferrari driver. But as I said, James, Josh and Cliffy now all on faster tyres, and you can see already James and Jack doesn't even want to fight that one. James around the outside. In fact, James and Jack are still there side by side. We're not getting the camera angle we want to see, but these two are still scrapping away. James heads inside for the next corner, and there we go. He takes the position, he takes P5, and now can start hunting down his teammate. He's 2 seconds back.
Yeah, I've just checked the race director quickly. Cliffy has picked up a 10-second penalty.
Well, I wonder what that was for then. I wonder if he's cut a corner, or maybe missed the pit entry, as Jack runs very wide.
Yeah, I think it might have been the pit entry, because he was in the pits when he got it. So I think he's gone wide when he's gone into the pits.
Well, bad news for Cliffy. It might be a penalty that, as I said, the game has given him by mistake, which could be removed after the race if that is so. Let's hope so, because the fight between the front two could be coming down to the final lap. It's down to 3 seconds already from 3.5. Half a lap ago. Cliffy on the quicker tyres, looking to hunt down Softy now. Looking forward to be his first win in a couple of weeks. Cliffy has had an unfortunate last few races. Of course, crashing out in Belgium when fighting Softy for the race win. Hitting trouble in Singapore, finishing 5th with an incident with Jack on the final lap. Can he finally start to turn his season around, as we see James already right on the back of his teammate? These two are 7 seconds back from Josh in P3. Josh there with various penalties. I'm not sure the Ferrari drivers will be aware of that, but Josh does have time penalties that will be applied after the race, so James and Dan could still be in with a shout for the podium. Well, Barry, how did you do?
Josh has done very well to hold on to P3, starting at the back of the grid.
Dan lets his teammate through. Dan chooses to let his Ferrari teammate through, just like he let Jonas through at Singapore all those seasons ago. And James with another 3-second time penalty. So I think that's at least 6 seconds for James. Sorry for Josh there. So James once again will fancy his chances to take another podium. A very consistent season it's turning out to be for James. And now into P4, hunting down P3, and Cliffy is now just 1.6 behind Softy. Do you think we'll see Cliffy close down in the final couple laps and maybe take the race win, Barry?
It's looking that way. He's on the faster tyre as well. So next lap, there we go, fastest lap at 1:32.1.
So gap down to 1.2 seconds.
Good few laps to catch him as Phil gets another penalty.
So as you said, it is going to be close. 3 laps left for Cliffy to do something about Softy, and it's already down to 1.1 seconds. So he's getting very close to DRS territory. It's looking very good for the Williams driver to put on a scrap for the win at the end. Penalties aside, we could be seeing an almighty battle between Softy and Cliffy in the closing lap. Softy really struggling. Cliffy is absolutely flying out there. The gap is now 0.8 of a second. Josh 8 seconds back in third. It's going to be between these two for the race victory here at Russia. Softy going for his first win of the night. Can he make it 41 career victories, or can Cliffy take only his 3rd win in the series? It's going to be a real scrap, I think, between these two in the last couple of laps. In fact, we couldn't even see a move here before we get to the last couple of laps. Cliffy now with DRS and the ERS advantage. Can he get close enough to make a move? He'll probably wait, think better of it. There's better opportunities to come, especially into turn 1 as he hits the back of Softy.
Oh.
Softy going very slow there, and Cliffy caught out by it and losing time and hitting the back of Softy, and that might have given him damage. That might have allowed Softy to maybe keep the position, and you can see Softy really struggling. Is Softy lifting off in the corners to try and get a better run after it? Let's see. I don't think Cliffy has much damage. I hope not anyway. We don't want to be robbed of this great scrap between these two. These two might not be friends on the circuit or off the circuit.
Cliffy's
and Softy
pushing him. Oh.
It wasn't a great camera angle, to be fair. I wasn't sure what happened with that. But Softy, it looked like to me Softy went off on his own, but
yeah, I think he did. Softy was going so slow through the corners, as you said, and literally Cliffy was pushing him.
So Softy really struggling out there. Not sure what it might be, but Softy in fact picks up a 3-second time penalty. So unfortunately for Josh, he has penalties himself, so he can't really take advantage of this. James also now 9.6 back from Josh, so he probably can't take advantage of Josh's penalties, and it's penalties galore at the moment. But the battle at the moment does appear to be John and Paul for P7 and P8. Down to turn 1, Paul looks like he's run a bit wider than he has, and now John's all on the back as Goings is out of this race. So Goings is out of this race now, and Paul and John, this is the battle for P7 and P8. Can we see John take the position ahead of the Sauber driver? The Sauber driver really needs the point for the constructors fight, and John in fact picks up a penalty in the meantime. So with a lap and a half to go for the front runners, it's looking good for Cliffy.
Just running on board with Smudge. It was a bizarre place where Goins has been. It was on the straight. He was in the wall on the straight.
Well, Goings then with an incident that's a little surprising by the sounds of it. It promotes Phil to P11. It promotes Owen into P10. So as you said, a disastrous race for those two who had such good fortune in Singapore. And Cliffy is struggling to pull away as much as I thought he would on Softy. And very slow, so maybe Softy was just trying to hold up Cliffy and block his entry into the following corner before. Maybe that's what caused the incident in the end. Softy breaking off a little more than he needed to, and Cliffy tagging the back of Softy with nowhere to go. But things start to calm down now as we reach the final lap of this race. Cliffy entering the final couple of sectors, as we see now John looking to make a move on Paul. He'll have about 3 opportunities to get the move done. Here's the first one. Can he do it into turn 1? Paul will look to defend the inside. Well, he chooses to stay in his position. John can't quite get through here. It's not close enough at the moment. And here comes opportunity number 2 around the outside. We saw Dan do it to Jack earlier on. A brilliant move from the Ferrari driver, but I'm not sure. In fact, Softy's now less than a second back from Cliffy, so we've got to keep an eye on that as well. Has Cliffy picked up some damage? In fact, we're going to switch to that now. It's the battle for the lead on the final lap. We're coming to the final sector now. I think Softy is a little too far back. He does have DRS open at the moment, but Cliffy, 8/10s clear as we approach the final few corners. Softy continuing to apply the pressure, but is a little too late. John continues to be on the back of Paul, picked up another time penalty, but Cliffy at least will cross the line to take the race win. We'll see what happens with penalties after the race, but Cliffy for now will take the race victory and the 25 points, and he's picked up, also that's Owen picked up a penalty. Cliffy wins, Softy goes back into P1, but we're not sure on the penalties just yet, so it's between those two. Josh is third, James will be a fantastic fourth position. So a great race from him, and wow. Down the mountain, P4. Looks like John and Paul are still scrapping away, but it looks like Paul is going to hold on to the P7 position as Jack takes P6, but I suspect could drop down. In fact, he does drop down because of the penalties that he had.
Pearson's dropped down to P8.
So
I think Jack
P8 in the end.
did get quite a few penalties in that.
Not a surprise for Jack Pearson. He is known as the corner cutting king. So he takes
Oh, and we got
P8.
a battle right at the end. We got Owen all over the back of Smudge.
Good spot. It's Owen on Smudge. Can he get the move going to the final corner? Let's hope we don't see anything too silly. He looks for it, but the gap's just not there. And Smudge should hold on to P9. Owen will take 10th, which means Phil will take P11. But there you go. What a race full of drama. Phil comes across the line to take the final classified finish. But wow, what a race, and we're not quite sure who's won it just yet. But it looks like it might actually be Softy, which would be his 41st victory in the tier. But it could be Cliffy. It will be taken to the studio, I'm sure, with all these penalties. But for now, we see Softy on the top step, ahead of Cliffy and Josh with an excellent third position. Delight for the Renault driver. More points for the championship. Both championships, drivers and constructors, and it's been a fantastic night for Softy, who extends his championship leads. Wow, what a race. Barry had it all. Incidents, fine passes, drama and delight. Do you want to take us through the race result? What a race.
Yeah, it was a great race. Shame about all the penalties, but there you go. Softy with another victory, takes P1. Cliffy possibly might get that with his penalty removed. Josh, great drive from the back of the grid, taking the final spot on the podium. Then you've got James in the Ferrari alongside his teammate in P5. Paul, not a bad result. Points for Salbert in P6. John, good result on his second race in TGP1 in the Mercedes. P8 for Jack Pearson. 9th for Smudge, also another good result for the Mercedes. Owen 10th. Phil 11th, and Goins, Aidan and Mike are the retirees.
Well, another fantastic night here in TGB1. We're back next week for Japan and United States, so join us for that. But from me and Barry, thank you and see you next week.
Good night.